My clock says 7:01, so let's get started. My name is Chris Path. I will be chairing tonight's planning board meeting for Westwood Planning Board, and we will do a roll call vote to see that everyone's here. Ellen Larkin, Roland's Larkin, are you here?
Sorry, I had to unmute again. Here.
Oh. Kate.
Here.
Dave.
Here.
And welcome Tom McCusker, new member.
I'm very happy to be here.
Welcome. Glad to have you. And I am Chris Path, as I said, the chair for tonight's meeting. Let's see, the meeting is recorded by Westwood Media Center and broadcast live on local cable television, Comcast Channel 12 and Verizon Channel 42. Meetings are also live on the Westwood Media Center's YouTube channel. If you're having any trouble logging into Zoom, please go to zoom.us and click on the join meeting and enter the meeting ID 821-7198-8587. We will begin the meeting with only the board members and staff unmuted and on video. As the chair recognizes individuals to speak, we will unmute them. Board members may choose to mute themselves when they're not speaking in order to minimize background noise. Before we begin, I will outline our process. The planning board meetings consist of 3 types of agenda items. We consider applications that have been submitted to the board and conduct public hearings where public comment portion is required. We have other applications that are not formal public hearings, and the public will have an opportunity to comment, but it will be at the board's discretion. Third, we review administrative items where board members will discuss issues and deal with items such as approval of meeting minutes, planning future agendas, and hear updates from staff. Prior to each agenda item, the chair will announce the item and provide some descriptive context. For applications, the chair will invite the applicants to address the board and give a presentation summarizing what is being requested. Board members receive the application materials prior to the meeting and will have reviewed them. Board members may ask questions during and following the presentation. Staff and outside experts will provide comments to the board. If the issue includes a public hearing, the board will then proceed to the public comment portion of the public hearing and will restate the instructions. In this remote meeting format, residents and guests may participate in several ways. Attendees should raise their hand and wait to be unmuted and recognized to speak over the Zoom meeting application or from a telephone dial-up. We will be able to hear you but not see you. Additionally, comments may be submitted by email or regular mail prior to the meeting. When we come to that portion of the meeting, I will remind everyone of the process to raise your hand by hitting the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 if dialing in by phone. Following the public comment portion, the board will deliberate and make a decision or continue the hearing to a specific future date. All remote meetings require that votes be by roll call. When a motion and second has been made, the chair will ask if there's any further discussion before proceeding to a roll call vote, and will then restate the results of the vote. Yeah. All right. Abby, first I have is for 369 Recess Road, OSRD subdivision modification. Is that still the order we're going in?
Yes, and the applicant, representative from Beals and Thomas, actually the applicant John Joyce is coming in, and then we have Dan from Beta Group, your peer review, is here as well.
Great. So let's start off with the applicant.
Good evening, members of the board. Let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Jeff Murphy. I'm a civil engineer with Beals and Thomas here on behalf of the applicant Old Grove to just present the minor modification to the Recess Way subdivision. We made a few changes to the proposed drainage design for the subdivision on 2 of the house lots, lots 1 and lots 2. The previous subdivision design called for open surface basins to be constructed on those lots, which in conjunction with a 3rd basin, which is called Basin 1, which remained unchanged, which receives runoff from the road. So basically we were taking the surface basins and converting them to subsurface infiltration chambers. So I'd be happy to run through the plan now if I'm able to share my screen.
You should be able to share your screen, so you can try it. If not, I can pull it up.
Sure, I'll give it a try here. Let's see. It's this one. All right. Let me know. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So the Recess Way subdivision is located off of Far Reach Road. It's a 3-lot open space residential development. So this is the subdivision road, Recess Way here. It's just a short little cul-de-sac turnaround. This lot right here, kind of in the middle of the screen, is lot 1. And then this lot here at the eastern end of the site is lot 2. So these two lots are where the basins were being modified. So I'll just quickly put up the original subdivision plan. As you can see here, the old basin design was just these 2 surface basins, one of which was a detention basin on lot 1, which was designed to overflow into this infiltration basin on lot 2. The revised design basically converts that to subsurface. So we are still maintaining similar drainage patterns and capture areas in terms of the lot grading. Basically, the runoff from lot 1 driveway is captured through a swale located here, and then an area drain primarily will also capture some of this flow coming off of the backyard here. And that area drain will flow into this subsurface infiltration system number 1 here. And then that system has an overflow device that will then connect over to this larger system located on lot 2, which is named Subsurface Infiltration System 2. We've designed a curbed driveway now to basically keep the runoff from the driveway flowing down towards this new catch basin we added here as a low point in front of the house, which will pick up the pavement runoff and tributary flow from the front yard, as well as we've incorporated this perimeter drain kind of along the edge of the system and the edge of this kind of what will be a grassed area to capture some additional overland flow that's coming from this lawn area. So the drainage subcatchments are very similar to what was designed before. We went out and we performed some on-site soil testing back in April to basically confirm the assumptions for the drainage design. And based upon those results, we were able to design these 2 systems and confirm the design for our basin 1 as well. So we provided revised drainage calculations in addition to revised plans, as well as an updated operation and maintenance plan that includes the maintenance procedures for these 2 subsurface chamber systems. So that's kind of the basic gist of the update. All of the existing, or the previously approved lot line boundaries, as well as the drainage easements established for the basin, are all remaining the same and unchanged. It's just a change in the type of BMP we're going for here. So does anybody from the board have any questions?
I think, yeah, right now would be a good time for board members. If you have any questions for the presenter, so raise your hand. If not, we'll go to hear from Beta, our peer review consultant, their findings on their proposal. Oh, yes, Kate.
Yep.
You're muted, Kate.
Thank you. I am just curious, why the change?
So I think it was more a change based on, I can let John, the applicant, speak.
Yeah, so I think most of the changes there are just more aesthetics and having swales with the water there and the mosquitoes and this and that, and just having a cleaner look as you come in.
Thank you.
Any other board member questions for the applicant? Okay, Mr. Hammerberg from Beta Group. You share with us your findings.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, everybody. So the way we kind of went through everything is we looked at the 2015 plans and the 2020 plans, or the 2021 plans, and looked for anything that was kind of new or different. We compared the watersheds from 2015 and 2020 just to make sure that they were the same. We went through the O&M plan, the operations and maintenance plan, just to confirm that the procedure going forward for maintenance had taken this into account, the subsurface infiltration systems. We went through their stormwater report, made sure the volumes going in made sense, made sure the peak elevations for these subsurface infiltration systems made sense, went through the HydroCAD calculations, looked at the test pits and how they corresponded to the infiltration rates, and everything looked good and consistent. They're going to be, the numbers for the storm kind of increased. So this design is going to capture more water than was previously accounted for in 2015. So it's going to be an improvement. I think the biggest thing is maintaining these systems. That goes for the surface systems as well as subsurface systems, and that O&M plan that's kind of why it's in place. So as far as plan modifications go, Jeff kind of went over those. There's a new flared end discharging from the northeast corner of the subsurface infiltration system 2, which I don't think is going to have a severe impact because a lot of the water is going to be infiltrating. They added impervious barriers around the subsurface infiltration systems 1 and 2. Some of the drainage locations like catch basin 1 and drain manhole 1 were adjusted a little bit to accommodate the force main line and the electrical lines and the CTV lines. And a pool was added to the easternmost house. So as far as the stormwater goes, these changes I think are for the positive.
Okay.
Is anybody have questions for me?
Yeah, any board members, questions for Beta? I did have one thought, and I just wanted to verify that the applicant will be fine with this. If we go through with this subsurface change, we had a previous subdivision being developed, and I believe they were the first subdivision that was approved to have a subsurface drainage system. Westwood Estates Beta also did that for us. And what it did, it's kind of an unintended consequence of that. It actually changed, and it had to do with where the swales were in relation to the sidewalk, but it actually required a change in the order of construction of events. And I just want to make sure that that making this change isn't going to throw off any of the requirements or conditions from the decision from the board in 2015 in terms of when you have to build the sidewalk and so forth. And I just want to make sure we're not creating a problem for the applicant construction wise that the applicant may not see or we don't see, because that's what happened before. So I just want to make sure that this, I know Abby's raising her hand. I just wanted to make sure that is not a foreseeable consequence from this. Do you understand what I'm saying? Either the applicant or Beta? Abby?
I could explain a little
Clarify
more
what I'm saying?
too. The other subdivision off of Hedgerow that you're referring to, they did have subsurface, but they also had a swale to collect the runoff from the road, along the road, also on the same side as the sidewalk. This plan was approved 1 year prior to that, and does not have that same drainage pattern along the road. The sidewalk is actually on the opposite side of the street, and these two, former basins that are now being proposed underground are on the private lots, and the plans are showing the drainage going down into the new system, so it's not pulling it from the road. So we shouldn't run into the same sidewalk and drainage swale along the road as we did at that other application.
That would be great. That was the whole point of my question. I wanted to make sure we weren't putting them behind the 8 ball of living up to old conditions that this new subsurface system can't allow them to follow those conditions. So if that's the case, that's great. Okay, heard from Beta, heard from the applicant, and Abby, we did notify residents. Would we like now to open it up to any public comment if there are any members, any residents here to let's go to attendees. So right now, if you are an attendee and would like to ask a question of the applicant or the board, now would be the time to raise your hand. And if you are calling in, Abby, do we have any phone calls?
There's no one here by phone, so if anyone has a question, you can raise your Zoom hand.
Give them a second or two to respond if they want.
I'll also add that the applicant also has filed an application with the Conservation Commission. We had recommended that they appear before you first, and then we would provide planning board's comments to the Conservation Commission. But we didn't have any other staff concerns.
Okay. Yeah, I should have asked you about staff comments. Sorry about that. So I see nobody in the participants list looking to ask a question. So first order of business, Abby, would be to determine if the board feels this is a minor modification or a major modification. So at this point, I think we'd entertain a motion to consider this a minor modification.
I'll make a motion that we consider this a minor modification.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comment? Questions, discussions? Okay, we will take a roll call vote on whether or not this is a minor modification. We have a motion to that effect. Mr. McCusker.
Aye.
Kate.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Ellen.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. So next would be a vote in favor of this change that is now determined to be a minor modification. Do we have any further discussion on this issue?
I just wanted to, editorially add that it does seem like it's an improvement to the original plan. I think the subsurface is more desirable for many reasons. And it was, that was my impression reading it. So it was nice to hear that Beta also feels that it is an improved plan. So I was very pleased to see it.
Good. Okay. So we'll take, oh, Abby, we have a, sorry, you did supply a motion, draft motion for this?
I'll read the draft motion.
Okay.
Motion, that's good. I move that we approve the modification to the 2015 OSRD EIDR Definitive Subdivision approval to accept the revised plan sheets 1.0 to 5.0 prepared by Beals and Thomas, last revised on May 24th, 2021.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Kate?
Yes.
Tom?
Aye.
Ellen?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. That's 5 yes votes and no votes. So the matter is resolved.
And I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of closing, roll call vote. Tom,
aye,
Ellen,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Kate.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. All right. Thank you very much. Best of luck in your construction.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Dan.
you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to subdivision lot and street release. Abby, why don't you give us a little color on this particular matter?
Sure. This is an old subdivision. It was approved in the 40s and then went through the subdivision process again in the early 80s. In 1984, there was a certificate of vote from the planning board to create these 26 new lots off of Clappertree and Pond Street is what it was originally called. The streets later became Martingale Lane and Bridle Path. And then in early 1984, there was a what's referred to as the agreement. It included a covenant, a bond, and the street development agreement. So that was in the early 80s. And then in 1997, there was a vote of the planning board to release the developer of that 1984 agreement. And it referenced the recorded covenant and the agreement. However, just recently, one of the homeowners on Bridle Path notified us that they're trying to sell their home, and before the closing, they requested, or they weren't able to find that 1997 release from the street agreement, or from the whole agreement, that it was largely focused on a street agreement for creation of the two roadways. We did find the 1997 agreement in our files. The planning board voted on it. It was signed. It was notarized, but it doesn't appear that it was ever recorded at the Registry of Deeds, and we couldn't find any copies of it at the town clerk's office. So we're here tonight asking for you to recertify that 1997 release by a vote of the planning board, and then also if you could then sign that release, because before it can be certified by the town clerk and recorded at the Registry of Deeds, it needs your original signatures, and then for the town clerk to certify that, then the homeowner could then finish up the closing once that's recorded. So we're asking you tonight to vote to release the development from that 1984 agreement. So I have
To Abby, this is certainly not the first house in this development to be sold since 1997. Why is this coming up just now?
I was surprised too. I mean, I thought maybe it would be recorded at the registry. Sometimes this happens. Maybe there hasn't. It depends on the closing attorneys. They may.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's the first attorney who's checking all the boxes.
Or
Okay.
it's not uncommon because it depends on how it was filed at the registry sometimes, or in our files. It took me a little bit to find it because I was looking under Bridle Path when it was, and then it was also called Foxfield Village over time. So some things are filed under M, Clappertree. So it could be filed in different locations. That's what took us a little bit of time to find it.
Okay.
They obviously have a very good title search.
Yeah.
too good.
All right. Are there any other questions from board members for Abby or Mr. Ahern? Okay, so we're just duplicating the efforts from October of 97, and we need to get to town hall to sign this in Dottie's office, town clerk's
Right.
office.
Right.
Okay.
I uploaded in your packet a draft lot release. I tried to emulate what was done in 1997, but I just made it very clear to what you were, putting it all in one document. And then after you vote, if you're able to go to the town clerk's office at town hall during business hours, the town clerk, there's 2 people in the town clerk's office that are notary public. So they'll watch you sign it, each one, and then at the end, she'll certify that to get to the homeowner.
Okay. All right, so we've discussed the business. I guess we'll entertain a motion. There is a draft motion in our packet. Someone wants to read that, or not, if you don't want to make the motion.
All right, I'll make the motion that we vote to release all 26 lots and sign the release for lots and release the street agreement created by the Definitive Flexible Development Plan for roadways Martingale Lane and Bridle Path from the 1984 subdivision agreement recorded in book 6555, page 329 at the registry.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Dave?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Tom?
Aye.
Ellen?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. That's 5 yes votes and no votes. No votes. Okay. We don't need to close that, Abby, right? There's no hearing.
Right, not a hearing.
Okay. So, wow, we're moving through this. 7:28. Done with the two matters at hand, and now we go to other business. We have draft minutes. Has anyone had opportunity to look at June 8th and June 21st draft minutes? The 21st is the special meeting or combined meeting with the select board.
I found one error that I made. I'm just trying to keep you guys on your toes. In the top by the call to order, I wrote Chairman Adkins explains the meeting procedures. I don't know if Abby caught that and fixed it or not.
I read it. I didn't catch it.
I think I caught it. I think I caught it before it went to the planning board.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure I saw it tonight. I said, oh no, cut and paste. All right, thank you.
And then Kate had given me a couple edits on the first page in the discussion on the Fox Hill Village. I don't know if you had a chance or if you're able to just pull that up in your packet now. I just did a little red line. It was help clarifying the order of the amendment and issuance of a temporary occupancy.
I did see the red line change, and I was surprised. We don't usually get those red line versions before the meeting.
I was sitting here waiting for this meeting to start, twiddling my thumb, so I did it then.
Okay. All right. So we have the one amendment by Kate and other one noted by Jessica. Any other changes to either? Do we have enough people who have read to make a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of June 8th, 2021 with the red line changes.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote to accept the meeting minutes. Kate?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Ellen?
Oh, I don't know anything about the minutes.
Oh, that's right.
You can abstain. You can
You
abstain.
abstain. Well,
Sorry about that.
no, it's all right. I shouldn't have called on you. I should have reminded that. Ellen, sorry if you.
No problem. Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So we have 1 abstention and 4 yes votes to accept the meeting minutes for June 8th. We'll move on to June 21st.
Motion to accept the minutes from the June 21st meeting as written.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Okay, all roll call vote. Ellen?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Tom will take an abstention.
Thank you.
And I vote yes as well. That's 4 yes votes and 1 abstention. Other business, Abby, you have written in here reorganization and committee recommendations.
Right, at the select board's meeting last week, at the end of the meeting, they did do some reappointments and appointments. So they did take all your recommendations into consideration, and they officially appointed you to those various committees. So over the next, if you haven't already, or over the next, couple weeks, you might see some emails coming from those various committees with the new contacts. So we'll keep you posted on that. And then what else was there?
The Fox Hill Village, CBA.
Yep, so Fox Hill Village did complete their special permit process with the zoning board. It was the week following your meeting, so they're so in that appeal period, then they'll be working towards at least getting the, trying to work with the building department for the temporary occupancy of that first floor amenity space.
Okay. Any other issues or matters from boards or committees that we're on? Any board members like to share? Any happenings? It's kind of a quiet time, but just give you the opportunity if you'd like it.
WEAC, Westwood Environmental Council, they've talked to us in the past or have discussed as a group trying to encourage solar and had recommended some zoning changes to the solar zoning regulations in the bylaw, mostly pertaining to the ground mounted solar. So for your next meeting on July 20th, you don't have any new applications submitted. So you don't have any applications that require a public hearing. You may have some of these smaller non-public hearing items that comes in, but over the next month, I'd like to work on, work on some zoning amendment related to solar, and then Westwood Environmental Action Committee, they're meeting on July 15th. So I was gonna attend that meeting as well as Ellen, and we're gonna try to talk to them about solar and then bring back some ideas for you to review as a group, as a full board at your July 20th meeting. That way you can continue your discussion without that tight timeline of going during that FinCom process. Once the warrant opens and closes, it gets very tight. So I encourage you to start working on it over the summer when you have a little bit lighter workload.
And again, this is target for April, right? Or May town meeting. Right.
That's my recommendation. Usually we don't always know if we're going to have a fall town meeting. And this year we have the Hanlon School Project is slated for the October town meeting. So the general recommendation is we don't know that we're going to have a fall town meeting, and we generally recommend any items that can wait to the spring. We recommend zoning waiting to the spring, but you can continue to work on it, and that way you can be as ready as you can be until springtime. You can keep working on it.
Okay, so I guess the rest of us will wait to hear your and Ellen's recommendations about solar after your meeting with WEAC. And that'll be on our July 20th, our next meeting. Okay, and we did, have we talked about what the state has allowed that will continue for the remote meetings? I don't remember if we've talked about it in a meeting.
Oh, I can explain where we are with that right now. You can either meet remotely or you can meet in person. At some point in time, we hope to get to a place where we can meet remotely and in person with a hybrid option, but we're not there from a technological perspective right now. So you can either go back to the way you used to meet pre-COVID, where you meet in the champagne room and it's broadcast, or you can continue to meet this way remotely. Both are now acceptable, at least until right now, next April. There's talk that there's going to be permanent legislation to try and codify to be able to meet remotely. If you choose to meet in person and someone can't attend, we have an old procedure where someone can apply to call in or Zoom in, but there's a procedure, and I don't have it memorized, but I think you have to seek the permission of the chairperson,
yeah,
and fill out a document and get it to the town clerk.
Okay. Abby, I know we're not assuming there's a fall meeting, but sorry, Pat, did you want to say something?
No.
Oh.
My wife just walked in. I waved to her.
Oh, okay. It looked like you raised your hand. Sorry. This is typically when we'll bring up any other zoning issues for amendment. Are we looking for that? Or are we going to stick with just solar? And there's usually housekeeping as well that falls in here. Do you want us to come first with zoning ideas?
Well, Abby, what about the housing choice, the implementation of the housing choice rules? Like, we think we've been waiting for guidance on that, and there's going to be a point where we need to update the zoning to include the requirements of that legislation that passed, which would be around having multifamily zoning by right near
Train stations.
Train stations.
Yeah, that's the big one. So I have that on my list, and I think we can start talking about it and looking at it at your next meeting in July. I don't know how much far we'll get in July on that, because we are still waiting for some guidance from the state. But that's the one that I think we really need to start working on. So I think we'll need like the fall to work on that, to bring that forward for our annual town meeting in the spring.
Once we get that guidance from the state, do you think this topic would benefit from possible subcommittee for further discussion, for a little more work being done instead of every 2 weeks? I'm just throwing it out there as I mean, we don't have to. I'm just wondering. It's a pretty dense subject, and how we address it is going to be very delicate. But like you said, we're waiting for more guidance from the state. Just throwing it out there as a possibility of, that's sometimes how we address dicey subjects.
It'd be great if it could, maybe kind of like the way we're doing, we're working with WEAC for this solar stuff. If we could get the housing groups involved in this early, to kind of take a look at the ideas and all, like to have, I know we don't want to do a too formalized of a structure, but wouldn't it make sense to talk to the Fair Housing Partnership, Housing Authority, and let them know this is coming? I mean, people know that it's coming, but they don't, and then it'll suddenly appear as a requirement. And so it's wise, I think, to start a conversation about this, because people are asking, are we already exempted because of University Station near 128? And there are questions, but at least to start a conversation, the best place to do that might be through the other boards, and then kind of come to us to figure out the details.
But as Abby said, right now we don't have all the information, so it might be
Well,
difficult to direct a meaningful conversation in the right direction.
but we could start, and that's a good idea. About coordinating also with the other committees like the Housing Partnership and Housing Authority. So if you want, we could start reviewing the legislation. We just won't have all the answers, such as there are some items that were kind of a district of reasonable size. So those sorts of things weren't specified yet, but we can just start thinking about it and thinking about how we want to bring this forward, and what we think the best path forward is.
Yeah.
We also have some time right now on our agendas that we can start, working on at this, start talking about your July meeting, thinking about how we want to bring something forward.
Yeah, I think it's important that we're mobilized already. So if we do organize something like that now, as soon as we get that information, like we're moving already. So better to be prepared than wait and react.
Mr. Chairman, the other thing I want to remind you is we're waiting to hear from the Attorney General on the work we did in the spring to see if that passes constitutional muster. Hopefully it does, and we don't have to revisit those subjects. But in the event that it doesn't, you may want to revisit some of those subjects.
Right. Good point. Do you know when that typically comes in?
About 3 months as a general rule.
Right, they gave us the exact date, and I believe it was the end of August.
Okay.
It's usually a little bit later than that. I think last year we heard mid-September.
Okay.
It depends on exactly when we submitted it to them, so it changes a little bit, but they have exactly 90 days, so it was 90 days from when we provided the information to the Attorney General.
Okay. So we'll just keep an eye out for that and do whatever we have to do when that comes back. Hopefully nothing. Hopefully it's good. Hi, Kate.
Hi, thank you, Chris, for recognizing me. I did just want to mention, I'm sorry I missed my opportunity when we were talking about the boards and committees, what we may have heard. I just wanted to mention for the Pedestrian and Bike Safety Committee that recently, maybe a year ago, the police department did a little bit of a shift in who was in what positions, and recently the new safety officer for purposes of the Pedestrian and Bike Safety Committee is Officer Conley. So he's recently joined that committee ex officio. So I just wanted to let people know that's the contact at the police department for types of issues. And also to just mention that while that board is continuing to do its work, there is room on that board. If you know someone who's looking to become involved in what's happening in the town and they're not really sure how to start, that's a great place to get started. So I thought I would mention.
Great, thanks. Okay, Abby, any other items you'd like to discuss or have us discuss?
Nope.
Nope, we're good. All right. Jessica, you're laughing for some reason. I'm not sure why, but all right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn and a second. Any discussion on adjournment? Don't know why.
I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, that I've been to many planning board hearings over the years, and this is the shortest one I've ever been to. I hope you continue that.
Yes.
It's because of you, Tom.
Expediency. Well, the lack of complicated issues is really what drives a quick meeting.
Keep working at that.
All right. So we had a motion and a second to adjourn and no further discussion. So we'll take a roll call vote. Kate?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. We are adjourned.
Good
Thank
night,
you very
folks.
much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good
Night.
Fourth.